It's 6:30 my time, so I think we're ready to start. And well, hi,
Yeah,
customs broker.
right.
Have a seat. Come in.
All right.
So, folks, basically, the goal. Yeah, you're not in the view, so you're fine. So basically, the goal over here is to go over of the basic stuff, the prerequisites, if you will, that are required for the customs broker license exam. That qualifications. We also discuss. Hopefully, we'll discuss some concerns. Also, we'll talk about basic approaches to study, how to develop a system, how to construct a methodology in order to be successful in the exam. Also, hopefully, I will have on a call one of my former students who passed the exam, so she can share her experiences with you about the process, but that's later. So let's dive in. So those folks who registered, they should have gotten the email with the outline, with the text, which pretty much says the introduction to the customs broker license exam. Also, I provided a web page which includes titled as 12 today's class, basically, which provides the links, but also I updated it since yesterday with a video which I was it's a lecture about the moral character. It's one of the prerequisites which we'll mention in as we continue to dive in. But this lecture, for the past 2 semesters, I've been going over. It includes the case law, and it includes administrative guidelines, administrative regulations about what it is to have a good moral character. Basically, as we'll see, the moral character breaks down into the one accounting and into the pattern of conduct. All right, so that's to come. But let's start with the basics, and let's go to the outline, and let's dive in from the beginning. Information about customs broker license examination. Notice a lot of stuff concerning customs broker license examination are also pertinent to the sample test, exam key, and downloads, and well, those are the appeals final rule. Let's hope you're not going to go there. But if you click on this web page, customs broker license examination, you can see they still haven't updated it. So what customs does on about, and it varies, about 2 months in advance, they post a notice on the web page. On this particular web page, using this path, they post a notice. So the next one will be April 2018, and it will say all the procedural requirements, such as the registration web address, right? It will also mention the stuff that we're talking about ourselves, right? What are the rules, how old you have to be, the contact information in case you have any problems or you require reasonable accommodation, and all other stuff that we'll talk about in a bit. So this is the web page you need to be mindful of, and if you are preparing, you need to check back and see what's going on with that one. Save it in your favorites, or set up some kind of alert to make sure you check it on a regular basis, of course. All right, now let me. So as we talk about the exam, I also wanted to let me see if I can get a student on a call, because that would allow me to also talk about the most recent experience which just took place on the last exam. Just a second.
Hi, this is Fabien.
Sylvia,
Yes.
hi, this is Yuri.
Hi, Yuri. How are you doing?
Hey, so do you have 5 minutes of your time to talk about your experience on the customs broker exam?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so first of all, thank you very much for agreeing to share your experiences. But what I wanted to ask you is how I wanted to first ask you about the logistics. I remember when I went to the exam, there was a it was in a big huge hotel room, and mine was in Miami, Florida, and I brought a backpack with all my stuff in, and they didn't allow me to take the backpack. So what they created is a community corner where everyone was to leave their stuff except for all the printouts that was necessary. Was that the case, or were proctors more relaxed at your examination site?
Yes, so my exam site was in California. It was in Pasadena. And I have to say the proctors were pretty relaxed. Everyone, I would say 95% of the people had a big luggages that they had put all their, all of their reference materials in. And we were able to put our bags and everything behind us. There was enough room to put it, behind us or along the wall.
Mm-hmm.
And the space was actually pretty reasonable. I was concerned about that because I have, 5 binders worth of papers. But I actually ended up having plenty of space to put all my reference materials. I also put some reference materials kind of next to my feet. I had a box that I propped some binders up on. So I made a little fort for myself of reference materials. But the tables aren't very wide, but, and the laptops are kind of these big Dell laptops, and the mouse is not wireless, is a wire. So, but overall, I thought it was okay.
I remember speaking with another individual who took the exam, and he described it as the size of the table was the size of a picnic table. Would that be something that you guys had too in your exam site?
Well, at our exam site, we actually had 3 ballrooms, and they had very, very long tables. It was I don't know what kind of table it was, but they had kind of stacked them 3 deep, and they're all connected. They all are right next to each other.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely not just a picnic table. The width of it, I would say maybe a little bit larger than a picnic table, maybe a picnic table and a half.
So basically, you never had any issues with space, right? You had all the space you needed.
Yes, I felt like I had enough space for all of my materials.
Yeah, I remember I had, mine was in the hotel room, but they were fold-out picnic tables, and I had to manage. I remember I had my HTS US on my lap, CFR on the table, and my notes on the other side, because. And I also I think I spread some stuff on the floor too. They allowed me to do that.
Yes, I remember you saying that during one of your lectures. So
Yeah.
I had a backup plan in case I didn't have enough space.
So what about the logistics? So you came in. What took place afterwards? Like you. They told you to start the computers up, or were the computers already running? How was the process?
Well, I actually was at the hotel the night before the exam. So the proctors, they're third-party vendors. they had come from, I think, Northern California to set up the exam site the night before. And the computers were turned on and ready to go when we entered the room. And what we were supposed to do was kind of go through the preliminary steps of answering like those pre-exam questions and things like that.
So was the experience very much similar to the one that was on their practice exam that Customs makes available online, or?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I would say it's exactly the same. I know that some people were having issues with their answer choices not being saved. They couldn't go back, but I didn't have any of those issues.
What about this rumor? Well, not a rumor. I know for a fact that many people complained about it. There was some kind of issue with computers being frozen. Did you have any of that?
I'm sorry, did you say computers being stolen?
Yeah, frozen, meaning that software program
frozen.
didn't work well.
Yes. Well, so there were so at my testing location, the hotel itself was actually undergoing renovation. So there was like jackhammering and things like that going on in addition to computer issues.
Oh wow!
But with the computer, yes. But with the computer issues, what happened was the first issue with our testing location was the computers weren't connected to the Wi-Fi. So then they had to go figure that out. Once the computers were connected to the Wi-Fi, and then you answer. Some people couldn't get to the preliminary questions, so I was one of those people. So there were about 3 or 4 people in my room that they just switched computers out. So then once we got new computers, then that seemed to fix the issue for most people.
Preliminary questions, though, they do not count toward your time, though, right?
That's correct. Luckily, no, the computer issues all happened before the exam started, although after the exam started, the fire alarm went off. So they told us to exit the program, and then they checked it, and nothing was on fire. So then they said, okay, follow these steps to get back into the exam.
How did they manage the time, though? So the clock is ticking, and you're under this pressure, and then you're told to exit. So how did they manage to do this? What was their backup plan?
Their backup plan was to give us paper exam.
Amazing. It's you remind me in my practice, and I'm a lawyer. Most of the courts went to the electronic system, so we all thought that our lives would be much more easier with paperless. But they said no, you have to file electronically, and then also bring a courtesy copy to the court. so that I thought that the life would be easier, but now the life has actually got just a little bit more complicated. Sounds like the same thing with the exam. One of my students also mentioned that they prevented them to use the stopwatch or the wristwatch that he had. Did you have any issues, or did you even use your wristwatch for the time management?
I honestly did not even think about bringing my own timing device. The test does have a timer in the corner, but you're right. You don't know if that timer is accurate, if it's running too fast, too slow. I know some people tried to bring their cellular phones and use it as a calculator, and the proctor said, no, you can't do that. But I did not hear anyone say you can't use your wristwatch.
Okay. So basically, after the fire alarm, proctors gave you the paper, distributed the paper exam. Was that what they did, or they reset computers?
No, I mean, a lot of people actually wanted to take the paper exam just because the exam had been delayed. It was supposed to start, I believe, at 8:30. I don't think anyone started until around 10. So people wanted to take the paper exam, but I guess the proctors really tried to fix their computers and the computer issues. And then what happened with me is I was one of the ones where the computer needed to be swapped out, and other people had actually already started taking the exam when my computer was being swapped out. So the last 10 minutes or so of my exam time, other people were packing up and leaving, so that was very distracting.
Mm-hmm. So they allowed people to leave as they finish, right? They.
Yes.
So would you suggest bringing the earplugs would be a good idea for just in case?
Earplugs are a good idea. They were actually passing earplugs out at my location,
nice.
probably due to the construction.
Nice. Yeah, I took my LSAT during the construction, and no earplugs were distributed. So yeah, I understand that. What about so aside this? One more question about the restroom, because for me that was a big issue. My exam site had the restroom on the opposite side. So to get to the restroom, I had to raise my hand, wait for the proctor to slowly come over, take all my stuff. Then I would have to literally race to the restroom, and then if I think in my restroom there was a line of people waiting to use the restroom. Wait in line, then run back and raise my hand, and the proctor will bring slowly back my paper exam. What's the procedure for using the restroom over there, just in case if you want to use it, let's say, in the middle of it?
So the restroom procedure at our location was if you needed to go use the restroom, you can't pause the exam, but you can stand up, go tell the proctor you need to go, and then the proctor will escort you to the restroom. The restroom wasn't that far away, but you probably had to go, probably would take you maybe a minute or two to walk over there. And then the proctor waits outside and then escorts you back to the exam location. You do have to give the proctor your scratch paper, but that's the only thing. Oh, your scratch paper and your ID. And then when you return to the exam room, they will give you back your scratch paper and your ID.
Well, at least they don't follow you to the restroom itself, right? That's a positive.
I would hope not.
So it will span across. We have all those classes which go all the way up to April 16th. So today is December, right? So December 12th, after today, you need to work what I've talked about, the outlines, I talked about the structure, I talked about the methodology, being a librarian. You have to implement that already. You have to already start doing that. So by the time by the time you get to the actual text, you already know you have your navigation abilities. That's number one. With respect to the current current lectures which are scheduled for this semester, which will take place every Tuesday about three times a month. Enforce and Protect Act, that new stuff that I told you about, that has been just implemented under the rubric of the Trade Enforcement and Trade Facilitation Act, is to come. So it's going to be a new chapter, a new outline, a new topic. So dialogue is a must about this. Customs bond, it's been a while since I discussed this. It's a huge topic consistently tested on the customs broker exam. So I think there comes a time to talk about it again, especially with the advent of e-bond provisions, which makes some of the questions likely to be outdated. Liquidation of duties is another provision which a lot of new questions have emerged since the last time it was updated. I believe last time I talked about liquidation and bonds was 2014, which has been almost like 3 years, so it's time. There comes that critical point where you just need to, enough changes have taken place to talk through this again. And of course, classification of merchandise, which doesn't have to be at the last. Very often what I do is I start out the class by having one classification question presented and being dissected, and then jump into the Code of Federal Regulation topic. Aside from that, February 2017, there have been a lot of changes in TIB transportation in bond. I thought about including it, but I found out that after I took a look at the April version of 2017, they haven't implemented the changes in the text, which is likely, which will appear on the next customs broker license exam. So I kind of put it on, but then I checked the version. So even though the law is updated, it's not updated on the text on which customs examiners will be testing you on. So I decided to exclude it and save it for the next semester because that's when it will become relevant. A lot of changes in TIB, transportation inbound. So that's it. Thanks for coming, everyone, and see you around in the future. Bye.